Alright, boys and girls, welcome to our second video lesson in Chapter 6. It's our lesson in 6-1, Numero Dos, SSA. That's donkey. Donkey, see, get it? See, donkey is a mule. If you spell that backwards. Alright, let's keep going. Okay, the ambiguous case. If you remember, SSA did not work back in geometry because you were not guaranteed to have congruent triangles in an SSA situation. Okay, well, you have a chart in your notepad, and let's just run through that chart real quick. We need to first of all look at, okay, so in an SSA situation, I always want you to draw the triangle this way. You have an angle right here. This is our given angle. You have then two given sides, B and little a. Angle or side C can be a length of any distance. We don't know how long. This could be as long or short as we need. This angle, angle C, and the angle at B down here, wherever it may be, we don't know what angle B and C are, and we also don't know the length of angle C. Okay, so looking at your chart, we can look at a couple of different things, starting with if A is an acute angle. If A is an acute angle, which it is in our picture here, and A is bigger than B, there's only one triangle that we can draw. It'll be the triangle that would go down here like this. So this triangle right here. There's only one triangle. If A is longer than the H, and you can find H by doing this formula, H is always equal to B times sine A, and you know why, and we'll run through that in class, but H is always equal to B times sine A. Okay, if H is longer than A, that means now that there is no such triangle, because you can't swing A down enough to meet up with the red line C. You can't form that triangle. If A is equal to H, there's going to be one triangle. It's going to be a right triangle, the triangle that we see right here. Okay, and that, of course, back in geometry was the HL situation. Okay, if A is longer than H but less than B, so there's actually two triangles that you can draw. The triangle that you can draw this way, right here like this. And you can also swing A around, so you can draw a triangle that would be right here like this. And I'm going to run through this in class, and we're going to play with the angel legs, but you'll see how this works. So there's possibly two triangles. If A is an obtuse triangle, so the A is right here, and we can see that it's now an obtuse triangle, and we see it once again our givens is angle A, the length of B, and the length of A. Okay, side C could be any length, and side or angle C and angle B, which is going to be down here somewhere, they will also be of any measure. Okay, if A is less than B, there's no triangle. You can't draw this triangle. If A were bigger than B, though, then there's only one triangle that you can draw. So the ambiguous case works out to be ambiguous when SSA, okay, where A is acute and little b or little a is less than H is less than little b. Okay, so every other case we either had none or we have one. So here's your chart once again. I just ran that through with you right now, right? So you saw all this stuff, okay? The only time there are two answers, if A is an acute angle and H is less than A is less than B. Let's try one. First of all, we look at this one. We got angle A, we got side B, we got side A. This is sure enough, this is a donkey situation. Why don't we erase that real quick? Oh boy. Okay. So we're looking here, and the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to compare side A to side B. I notice that side B is bigger, side A is bigger than side B, so there's only one possible answer. So now I'm just going to use law of sines like we did before. So I'm going to write here sine of big A over little a is equal to, let's find angle B, sine of angle B over 9. Okay, I'm sorry, that's little b. So if I switch colors here, I got the sine of A is 44 over little a, which is 17, is equal to the sine of B, which is what I'm looking for now, over 9. Go ahead and cross multiply, solve that for sine B. So if we cross multiplied 9 times sine 44 divided by 17, we find that sine B is equal to 0.3677. Go ahead and throw that into the calculator and do an inverse sine. Do an inverse sine so we can come up with angle B. You should find that angle B is 21.57 degrees. You will see why in class why I started with the littlest side in angle if possible here, because you can't come up with something where we could be looking for an obtuse angle, and the calculator is not going to automatically give us that answer. Okay, so go ahead now that we have sine B, go ahead and subtract from 180 the 44 and the 21.57, so we can come up with angle C. Very good. We find that angle C is 114.42. Okay, so now we're just going to use law of sines one last time. We know that sine of C over little c is equal to, we can do either one. Let's do sine of A. Sine of A over little a. So we have sine of C, which is 114.42 over little c, is equal to the sine of 44 over 17. Go ahead and cross multiply right now. You should do 17 times sine 114.42 divided by sine of 44. Go ahead and do that, and you find that C is equal to 22.8. Okay, we're looking at this guy right now. Once again, we find we have an angle, side, and a side, so that's donkey. I'm not going to write it this time, donkey. We'll write it donkey. Okay, so we know that this could be the ambiguous case. So the next thing I'm going to do, let me just erase my circles here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compare A and B. And notice that A now is less than B. Okay, it's less than B. Last time it was bigger than B, so we knew we had one answer. So A is less than B, so therefore I could have either no answers or I could have two. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the height. I'm going to find the height opposite angle A. And I'm going to do that by doing, as I wrote before, I'm going to do that by doing sine of 84 times 22 is equal to h. Go ahead, whip out your magic calcs, figure out what h is. H is 21.9. So now, thinking about this, notice that, let me get my pointer, A is less than the height. So therefore, there is no way I can possibly draw a triangle. This 14 is just too short. It won't reach down to the leg. Alright, so we're done. Love it. Let's go on to the next one. Alright, and this guy right here, once again, we notice we have an SSA situation. I have an angle, a side, and a side. Okay, we're going to compare my A and my B. A is less than B, so therefore I know I don't have just one answer. I either have 0 or 2, so I'm going to find my height. And you guys know how to do this now. Our height is going to equal sine of 29 times 19. Go ahead, whip out your magic calcs and figure out what that h is. I'll give you a second here. We have 9.21. Notice now that my a side is in between my height and my b. In other words, h is less than a is less than b. So I have two solutions. So we're going to set up using our law of sines, we're going to set up our first proportion. We're going to find, I can set up sine of a over little a is equal to, because I know these two, is equal to the sine of b over 19, which is little b. So I know now, in pupil, sine of 29 over 14 is equal to the sine of b over 19. Whip out your calcs, and again, I just want you to solve for sine of b. So go ahead and solve for sine of b. We know that sine of b is going to equal 19 times sine 29 divided by 14. Go ahead, whip out your calcs and figure out what that equals. Good, you should have found that sine of b is equal to 0.658. When you do the inverse sine on your calculator, so inverse sine of 0.658, your calculator is going to spit out the answer 41.14. So that is one possible answer for b. If that were the case, go ahead and subtract from 180. We're going to get our angle C. I'll give you a second here. You are doing it, right? I'm not doing it. All right, well, okay. Well, yeah, I think they should be done. Well, what do you think? Okay, yeah. Right. Our angle C is 109.85. Once we have that, we're going to say, okay, we can find our third side of C, which now we just use sine 109.85. That is our C angle over sine C is equal to sine of A, which is 29, over 14. Go ahead, whip out your magic calcs, figure out what side C is. Side C is, you think they're done? Yeah, I don't know. Well, should I give you the answer yet? No, I think I'll give them in a second. Alright, well, okay. Yeah, I'll give it. Alright, side C is 27.16. So that was one possible version of our triangle, and that would look something like this. It would be a very obtuse triangle where that side would go way down here like this, something like that. Okay, don't forget, I could have also swung this triangle so it looks like this. So we're going to do that in our next slide here. Okay, if you remember correctly, before when we solved for sine B, we got 0.658. When you threw the inverse sine into the calculator, you got 41.14. Remember, going back to chapter 4, I know you loved that chapter, the inverse sine only goes to the first or the fourth quadrants. When sine is positive, it goes to the first. And notice that our sine was positive 0.658. Though, think about it. What other quadrants have a positive sign? Yes, that is correct. Sine is also positive in the second quadrant. So therefore, angle B with a sine of 0.658 could be 41.14, or it could be the second quadrant angle, which would be 180 minus 41.14. So the other possibility for angle B is 138.86. Now, once again, subtract from 180. Let's figure out our angle C. Our angle C is 12.14. And as you can see now, our angle C is just a little sliver of an angle. And angle B down here is a big angle. It was 138.86. So the second triangle that I can draw is this little wedge right here, like that. Once I have these now, I can find my missing side, side C, by doing what I've done before. I'll do it in purple. I'm going to do sine of A, which is 29, over 14, that's little a, is equal to the sine of C, which now, in this case, is 12.14, get rid of that C, over little c. So go ahead and cross multiply. You're doing the work now. We're doing sine of 12.14 times 14 divided by sine of 29, right? I'll write that for you. So we have sine 12.14 times 14 divided by sine of 29. Your calculator should say 6.07. So side C is 6.07, and there is our second triangle. Alrighty, hey, have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.